With the holidays now officially upon us, many people are out scrambling to get family gatherings together today. Greg Ross was out talking to those last-minute travelers.
There were some big lineups for Via Rail trains at Union Station today. This woman was heading to Ottawa with her partner to spend an extra special Christmas with her family.
It's my only Christmas that I'll be pregnant, so I figured it might be nice to be with my family.
Via says they were almost at full capacity for trains running to Ottawa and Montreal. This woman was hoping to avoid any delays.
I'd like to get home like early-ish and be able to decorate the tree with my family because we always decorate it on Christmas Eve.
It wasn't quite as busy at Pearson Airport today.
It's actually pretty quiet at the airport today.
Traveler volume was well below the daily average there. Good news for this family heading to Pennsylvania for the holiday.
Going to see family that live in the Poconos, holed up in the woods. It's really nice. It'll be a white Christmas. They had a lot of snow yesterday.
It also worked out for this family heading back home to New York after visiting with family in Toronto.
We got to see family on my side.
But they needed to get home because they have a special visitor coming tonight.
Is somebody coming to your house tonight?
Santa Claus.
She is super excited about Santa, you know. She's at that age now where she's asking questions about Santa and she's, asking for the gifts, so it's extra special.
And to make sure Santa doesn't miss her house, she's got a treat.
What are you leaving out for Santa?
Chocolate chip cookies and milk.
A spokesperson for Pearson Airport said they expect travel volumes to be well above average numbers later this week. Greg Ross, CBC News, Toronto.
Now, it is rare when Christmas falls on the same day that Hanukkah begins, but that is exactly what's happening tomorrow, a time for those who celebrate both holidays, Christmas, and as CBC's Nama Weingarten tells us, folks are still making those last-minute preparations for both.
Over at St. Michael's Cathedral Basilica in downtown Toronto, priests are getting energized for one of the biggest days of the year.
Turnout will be very busy tonight, so each of the priests here has gotten their nap in, and now we're getting ready for the rush.
Though some are spending the day a little differently.
And here at the Eden Center, we caught up with some last-minute shoppers. Who are you shopping for? Well, I don't want it. What if they see? What if they see me running around last minute?
You start in the morning and do all the kids, 3 kids, wife, everything.
You just like the rush?
Yeah.
I got this.
We're very new with giving gifts. We're usually on the receiving end, so now that we have to be the ones giving, we're not prepped up.
I got a Barbie house.
What are you most excited for tomorrow?
Santa Claus.
I guess he missed his chance to hand out that present. But tomorrow doesn't just mark Christmas Day. It's also the first day of Hanukkah, when people light the first of 8 candles in the menorah. It's rare for the two holidays to align. It's only the 5th time it's happened since the year 1900. Rabbi Chaim Hildesheim in Thornhill Woods also preparing.
We're going to be lighting the giant menorah, which is right outside our synagogue. And every year we have hundreds of people that get together.
He tells us that with the recent rise of anti-Semitism, people are celebrating a little differently.
This year, more than ever, we have to make sure to spread the message of Hanukkah, which is to stand strong and proud of who we are and have our menorahs displayed in public.
He says Christmas falling at the same time means more people are away on vacation, but that won't stop him from spreading the spirit.
We made sure to give out traveling Hanukkah menorah. It's a little kit that has a little menorah with a set of candles, with a little dreidel, what we play with on Hanukkah.
Next time Christmas and the first day of Hanukkah will happen at the same time, we'll be in 2035. Nama Weingarten, CBC News, Toronto.
So with jolly old St. Nick well on his way, he'll see a white Christmas when he arrives in the GTA. Now, last year, it was rainy on this holiday, but this year, Santa has snow for his sleigh.
It's fantastic. It's what we want, what we wished for, right? You actually, what did you wish for?
Packing snow.
Packing snow. What do you need packing snow for?
To build snowman.
For Christmas.
Pretty excited, considering that last year was basically just a wet winter, no snow.
I'm pretty happy because I can go sledding or something like that.
Zip up your jacket, young man. All right, yesterday brought a fresh dump of snow to the GTA, between 5 and 15 centimeters, depending on where you live. That adds up to lots of fun on the Toboggan Hills. Police are reminding people to stay safe on our roads and give the crews space to work to keep the roads clear and salted for us. Let's go now to Chris Potter with a look at his forecast. Chris, can we expect more snow now on Christmas Day for Santa and the reindeer?
Yeah, and it did look like last week, looking at that system from yesterday, Dwight, that it wouldn't necessarily provide us with that kind of snowfall in the downtown core. And it kind of did, kind of didn't. Obviously, the downtown core got lesser amounts. Think of it. Lake Ontario is a lot warmer, so that kind of keeps us a little bit warmer by the lakeshore. So our totals were a little bit closer to 4 centimeters in the downtown core, 8 centimeters uptown. Richmond Hill, Vaughan, respectively, got 14 to 15 centimeters, 12 in Whitby, 17 in Ottawa, and my neck of the woods up in Barrie, we had about 15 to 20 centimeters. Now, I want to point out one thing. Record high, 15.4. That was 9 years ago. I don't know if you recall that, but we had absolutely no snow. It felt like spring, and that led into a day of Christmas highs of around 10 degrees. Obviously different this year. Temperatures today around 1 degree, and that's where we peaked at today, and that was earlier in the morning. Temperatures are starting to back off. We're at -1. There won't be a dramatic drop in temperatures, but obviously there will be. Much cooler over eastern Ontario as well. Active weather-wise, Dwight, for you, I give you nothing. Lots of cloud, though, and it will feel a little damp through the overnight and into early tomorrow morning. We slowly get into a light easterly wind, which will pick up just enough moisture off of Lake Ontario, possibly giving a couple of snowflakes early tomorrow morning, maybe even some patchy freezing drizzle. But aside from that, it's really just a story about cloud that unfortunately lingers. If you were hoping maybe your Christmas present, you wanted a bright sunny day, unfortunately the only thing that we're going to see is some sunny breaks during the afternoon. Wednesday night into Thursday, similar story. That easterly wind, you can barely see that little band of snow moving in. Not snow, but flurries. So we're going to start to see a little bit of flurry activity possibly by the lakeshore for Boxing Day right along the lakeshore, nowhere else. The rest of the region, you guessed it, more cloud. So unfortunately, not a lot of sun in this forecast, and that holds true into Friday. And you notice the green, that represents rainfall. That's basically what we're going to transition to as we get through Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We get into what I call a late December thaw, because temperatures will hold above zero, both in terms of daytime highs and overnight lows. Overnight lows, speaking of which, around -12 through Ottawa, -15 through Peterborough, -7 in Toronto. That's the average. It will be less cold by the lakeshore. -2 for your high for tomorrow. It looks like highs near 0 for Thursday, 3 for Friday, holding at 1 Friday night, 6 degrees your high, Dwight, for Saturday with periods of showers, and then 4 for the overnight and 9 on Sunday. So if you weren't a fan of this past weekend's cold, this weekend coming up, a whole lot different.
Very different. Thank you, Mr. Potter.
You got it.
Transit riders, the TTC's free Wi-Fi is coming to an end this Friday, and the agency says, well, you weren't really using it.
What we've seen is that as the usage has decreased on the free service on the platforms, the uptick on people connecting through their own plans onto the 5G network has shot up. So really, people are just migrating, which is natural and understandable.
Since late last year, Rogers Wireless Network has been available to passengers in every subway station and in some tunnels. Now, the TTC says less than 3% of its customers now use the Wi-Fi at any given time, adding it would cost $17 million in upgrades to keep the network functioning. This year saw an increase in the number of school boards across the country that ban cell phones in the classroom. It's been a big adjustment for both students and teachers. Jamie Strachan visited Humberside Collegiate to see how it's working.
It's lunchtime at Toronto's Humberside Collegiate, and in hallways and stairwells, it seems like nearly every one of the school's 1,500 students is on their phones.
It's just like a way of life now, so everybody's always on their phone.
How hard is it? It's like a drug.
Yeah, that's literally it. It's a drug. Everybody's like, you get addicted to it.
In September, it was cold turkey for Ontario high school students, the latest province to ban cell phones in classrooms for grades 7 to 12.
Before, it was just people saying like, oh, the principal says we're not allowed to go on our phones. No one listened. And now that it's a rule, like they have to listen, they don't have a choice.
Principal Claudine Tyrell helped design the Toronto District School Board's cell policy.
Let's be real, we know that even as adults, we have a heavy reliance on it, and it's definitely a culture shift.
After a rocky start, she says there is less resistance and acceptance that things have changed. The school even installed charging stations where students can store their phones.
We're reducing the distractions that take place in school, and we're saying, put it away and let's work together.
Still, there are growing pains, a struggle to find consistency from school to school, classroom to classroom.
if we're going to be enforcing it, we have to enforce it fully in all of our classes. So it's not like some in some classes and less than the others, like it's all the classes 100%.
The biggest question, has it improved academic performance? It's too early to say.
It is really hard to judge. I think that the students don't love it, and that often is a good thing to a certain extent, right?
Is my crown ready?
In Maria Savitas' law class, the rules are clear. The cell phone hotel for rule breakers, mostly vacant. Savitas says before this year, phones had reached a breaking point and had become an impediment to teaching.
But having that sort of leg to stand on that the law has given us has made it easier so that we can actually enforce it.
Principal Tyrell says the next step, doing a better job explaining to students there can be happiness and success without their phones. Jamie Strachan, CBC News, Toronto.
Modern technology and an aging population are creating a problem on our roads. Small, bright LED headlights have a lot of drivers squinting through their windshields, unable to see past oncoming traffic. Yvette Bren hit the road to shine a light on this issue.
Night driving has always presented challenges, but these days it can be blinding because of newer LED headlights.
It's not in everybody's heads. It is real. Headlights are getting brighter. They're getting brighter, they're getting smaller, and they're getting bluer. And all three of those things increase a particular kind of glare. It's called discomfort glare. And it does exactly what the name suggests. It makes us feel uncomfortable. What we have is the left and right low beam patterns here.
Daniel Stern has spent decades studying car lighting and edits the top technical journal for the industry. He says concentrated LED light may look cool, but its dazzling glare can be downright dangerous.
Because all of that light is coming through a much smaller space. And so when that's in your field of vision, it's really very stabby.
Stern says outside North America, many countries have strict glare controls. In Europe, car headlights are inspected, and many are automated to ensure they avoid dazzling other drivers. A Toronto researcher recreated the effect in a simulator.
Because it really is quite debilitating, and it's a big distractor.
Especially for aging eyes.
As we age, we become more glare sensitive, and we need more light to see. When we're 60 years old, we need triple the light to be able to see any given thing that we did when we were 20. But we're also considerably more glare sensitive.
Your pupils dilate at night to use all available light, so bright headlights leave you squinting to see. Special anti-glare lenses can help a bit.
But there's only so much that the lenses can do, right? If someone's driving on a high beam, the lens can only do so much.
It's hard to link headlight glare to accidents, but lighting experts say Canadian producers and regulators need to take a closer look. Yvette Brand, CBC News, Vancouver.
Welcome back. Police in Hong Kong have issued new warrants for 6 activists now living outside the territory, including here in Canada. Chinese officials are also offering a hefty reward for information that leads to arrests. Sarah Levitt has the latest.
It's the latest round of crackdowns by Hong Kong authorities. Warrants issued for 6 pro-democracy advocates with bounties set at the equivalent of 185,000 Canadian dollars for any information leading to their arrest, all based overseas, and on the list, 2 Canadians.
I chose Canada as my home.
Joseph Tay is a former actor and founder of a Hong Kong radio station based in Canada, and Victor Ho,
Chinese Canadians,
is the former editor of the largest Chinese Canadian newspaper who testified before the Special Committee on Canada-China Relations, expressing concern over China's ever-growing influence in Hong Kong. The move comes after Hong Kongers took to the streets through 2019 and 2020, protesting a Chinese-imposed national security law. A law critics call repressive and broad for its crackdown on anything authorities deem a threat to the region.
What they're trying to do is silence free people in UK and Canada and the United States through this act of transnational repression.
I'm really young. The youngest named on Tuesday, Chloe Chung. She was 14 when she took part in the protests in 2019.
Putting me on the bounty list actually gave me some more power and motivation to do more for Hong Kong.
Last month, other activists, known as the Hong Kong 47, were handed down lengthy sentences, one for 10 years. Many are colleagues and friends of Carmen Lau, who is among this latest group.
It is very important to still have someone to continue the work, especially for what they did, because they are the one who pose the pathway, or they are the one who contribute a lot.
Activists not deterred by the warrants, but inspired instead. Sarah Levitt, CBC News, London.
Prosecutors in the Netherlands are considering appealing the jail terms handed out to 5 men convicted of taking part in attacks on Israeli soccer fans last month. Judges sentenced 4 of the men to between 1 and 6 months. A 5th defendant was given a community service order under the country's juvenile law, despite being 19 years old. The riots broke out in Amsterdam after a game involving a team from Tel Aviv, leading to international outrage and claims of anti-Semitism. During the case, the court also saw evidence of Palestinian flags being torn down, as well as anti-Arab slogans. Turning now to the Middle East, where protests have broken out in Syria over the burning of a Christmas tree. That's prompting questions about the new Islamist regime's tolerance of minorities. Hundreds of Christians marched through the streets of the capital with crosses, chanting for their faith to be respected. They were responding to the video of a Christmas tree on fire in Hama, north of Damascus. The footage shows 2 men around it, one man with a jerry can throwing an unknown liquid on the flames. The leading rebel group in the country's new administration says those responsible for the fire will be punished. Here at home, the province is dealing with a cluster of measles cases that are linked to an exposure in New Brunswick. Public health officials in Ontario are reporting another 10 cases in our province, bringing the total to 37. Public Health Ontario says 11 of those cases are confirmed and 26 are probable. Most of the cases are in children and teenagers. Meanwhile, an increasing number of Canadians are suffering from respiratory viruses, and as Jennifer Yoon explains, the worst of the season may still be to come.
Across Canada, respiratory viruses are on a gentle upswing, and with people gathering over the holidays, immunologists are worried.
It's not any one single virus, but really a combination of multiple viruses that are making people feel ill, but also, straining our healthcare system.
In Alberta, the number of sick kids are pushing some Calgary hospitals over capacity. Alberta Children's Hospital has added 37 extra beds to deal with the surge of children falling ill. RSV is the main driver of the wave, say health officials. Among infants, RSV can lead to complications and hospitalizations, while among those over 65, influenza can quadruple the risk of heart attack and triple the risk of stroke, and flu cases are expected to increase.
We know in the weeks ahead, most of the country will be reporting a more significant burden of influenza.
As for COVID-19, while it's unclear why there are fewer cases now than usual this time of year, Bogosh says it's still making the rounds, and another wave could be around the corner.
We're not seeing the same degree of rise of COVID that we have in past winters. It's probably bound to happen at some point. We're just not seeing it at this point in time.
One way to stop the spread of viruses, experts say, is by getting vaccinated. Through October and November, this pharmacist used to give flu and COVID shots every 15 minutes. But on this day, I'm the only one getting a shot.
Okay, big breath for me. In December, we noticed that it sort of just drops off on a cliff. People who want their vaccines have already had them.
Another way to curb the spread of respiratory viruses, avoid gatherings if you're feeling unwell. Jennifer Yoon, CBC News, Toronto.
Those last-minute shoppers were decking the halls at stores and malls across the country today, getting their final holiday gifts. But many say they've been keeping a close watch on their spending this year. Julia Wong has the story.
There was a lot of hustle and bustle at Canada's biggest mall as people shopped furiously to cross things off their Christmas list. Thousands of people filled West Edmonton Mall on Christmas Eve. But many say they're being mindful and say that they're not splurging as much as they have in years past. An Angus Reid poll shows 44% of Canadians surveyed say they expect to spend the same this Christmas compared to last holiday season, while 41% expect to spend less. One retail expert says Canadians are being cautious because of the cost of living. Shoppers we talked to say they're keeping an eye on their wallets and some are making difficult choices.
I think with the price of food and rent and everything, they either got to spend less to put food on the table.
I'd rather buy food, groceries, like Cal said, and we don't really need the presents under the tree as much as we want the family and the experience of gathering.
The rising cost of everyday items, it just forces us to stick to our budget this year.
A vaster majority of us are kind of tightening up. You say, why is that? It's a mix of things, but the cost of living, the interest rates had gone up, and they're slowing down, but there's a lot of household debt, so that makes a difference. I also think there's like a zeitgeist, like if all your neighbors, if all we're doing is talking about budgeting, it starts to permeate our psyches.
Gray says though budgets are top of mind, Canadians are still finding ways to celebrate this holiday season without breaking the bank. He also says the strategy of budgeting is becoming more mainstream and something we can expect to keep seeing in the new year. Julia Wong, CBC News, Edmonton.
It's too late for you now. The malls are closed. Finally tonight, Santa's toy-making workshop gets all the publicity, but it's not the only one busy ahead of Christmas. This one's tucked away in an unassuming building in Rome. Filling the shelves are toys with one thing in common. They are broken. A retired aviation technician is giving them new life by painting, stitching, and fixing any mechanics that need to be repaired. Once he's worked his magic, the toys will make their way to children who otherwise might not get any. Not surprisingly, his nickname is the Toy Fixer, working to bring a Merry Christmas to all. And that is our show for tonight. Thank you for joining us. Merry Christmas and Happy Hanukkah to everyone celebrating.